Hello, everyone. Another edition of the Ottawa Market, and this is some more breaking news on the ongoing debate between the Saab-Gripen and the F-35s. And as you can see, this is fresh breaking news, January 26, 2026. U.S. warns they will send fighter jets into Canadian airspace if F-35 deal doesn't go through. Quite interesting, and as I went through this article, and is basically a threat being issued by the very famous or infamous, depending what your perspective, Pete Hoekstra, that because we have NORAD, if the Canadians decide, who are a sovereign nation, by the way, decide to buy the Gripen over the Lockheed Martin F-35, then the consequence of that will be Trump administration being able to, on their own volition, send U.S. Air Force and violate Canadian airspace anytime they want under the deal secured a while back ago regarding NORAD. So in other words, as I've stated before in previous presentations, NORAD has become a opportunity for the Trump administration to use that agreement to then pressure, coerce, and potentially instigate an annexation without us even knowing it. How are we going to know if we are being invaded if there is a so-called NORAD agreement which gives the U.S. Air Force an opportunity of coming in anytime they want? How are we supposed to detect between a so-called improper incursion and an actual invasion? So the question today for everybody is, should NORAD be revised so that rather than having the unified control that allows for F-35s from the States coming in and doing it whatever they want and getting worse under P. Hoekstra's threats, or do you think that perhaps NORAD should be completely disbanded so that we can be free of the insults from the Trump administration that the U.S. is so-called defending Canada and that Canada exists because of the United States, and we should be ever grateful and let the Americans do anything they want, and including violating our sovereignty. So what is your views on this? It says in this article that, because if Canadians go with a less, a less good, not as good aircraft like the Gripens, we're going to have to come in with our F-35s anytime we want to if the Canadians decided they want to go with the Gripens. So apparently, Hoekstra was quoted on the CBC, and the article goes on. Hoekstra's comments come months after the Canadian government indicated it was reviewing the terms of the fighter jet deal. So more and more coercion threats from the Trump administration, imperialist threats based upon their so-called Donroe, whatever doctrine they're trying to perpetrate. This is again outrageous, an outrageous violation of our rights as Canadians. And once again, Trump administration is showing its lack of respect for sovereignty and the rule of law. And as a result of, fresh on the heels, so to speak, of Carney's very well-received overall speech on the need not to kowtow to any authoritarian regime, including with particular reference to the Trump administration, an aspiring authoritarian regime, which is right now currently trying to oppress the rights of American citizens, like the early stages of the Nazi Germany. This is what they're doing, and when Germans let that go, that led to the concentration camps. So, don't be, if Americans don't, rein in what's going on in the States, don't be surprised if there's a mass so-called re-education, concentration camps, whatever, in America's near future. Notwithstanding that, let's get back to Canada. So, what do you think about this? This outrageousness trying to threaten us as a sovereign nation, that if we don't take their F-35s that they can control the technology on, they're going to be able to come in an airspace. And in my view, that's basically a threatened act of war. That's what they're basically doing. They're going to say, "Oh, we're going to invade you," but they don't say we're going to invade you. They say that we're going to be able to be allowed to come in your airspace because you're going to be taking a fighter jet that we can't control. That's what's going on here. Since guys and Canadians up there are going to be taking a fighter jet that we can't monitor in case we want to invade, we're going to start to encourage you to go in your airspace and take you over, because we don't want you guys having an independently controlled military. That's what that is. That's what it's all about. So, Canadians got to, wake up. And in my view, we can't wait for this 3-year operation, of Canadian Gripens. If we go with that Gripen deal, it better come with a whole bunch of Gripens to defend ourselves. We're not going to be able to wait 3 years for it to be built on Canadian soil. We need to start, if we go with the Gripens, we need to buy, I would say, from my estimation, 50 straight off the bat. We need to be able to defend ourselves immediately. We can't wait 3 years for Trump to invade us like he's threatening right now. We go with this, we need to have our Air Force ready and prepared for, and tell the Trump administration that, okay, you don't come in our airspace, that's an act of war. So what are your thoughts on this? Thanks for watching another edition of The Auto Market and our ongoing series on Saab-Gripen coverage, Canadian sovereignty issues, and various other issues, including amazing food. Look forward to your comments below. And please remember to subscribe to this channel. That's how we get support. Please subscribe to this channel if you can. We were very grateful for any pledge that you can receive so we can expand our production facilities so that we're able to interview amazing guests. But that will take a budget, of which, as you can see, we have a minimum budget, but we still want to get the important information out there and facilitate an important debate. So please consider making a donation below at the link below. And thanks for watching. And for your information, if you want to check out this article yourself, go to the Independent website. Google the article title, "U.S. Warns They Will Send Fighter Jets into Canadian Airspace if F-35 Doesn't Go Through." Check out that article published by the Independent. And remember to subscribe to this channel or make a pledge if you can.